Oh, now this is the fun stuff, right? The gear, what everybody likes to focus on, what everybody likes to research and play with and keep up to date. And they think it's going to make all the difference in their project. And to a certain extent, it does, right? You can't do a lot of great commercial work without a certain level of gear. And we're going to talk about what sort of level of gear is expected in a commercial process, what's it like to put the gear order in, what you can expect from producers and line producers, and we'll briefly touch a little bit on the gear, but more this is just a general overview. We're not going to get into specifics about what type of gear you should have for this or what type of gear you should have for that. We'll talk a little bit about my personal recommendations, and then we'll also go into, if you've got your own gear, getting that onto a production because you probably don't have all the gear you're going to need. So what's that delicate balance between getting your own gear on, getting return on that investment, but also not basically upsetting the whole chain of people involved, because you'll have rental houses, you'll have producers, and you just don't want to be, Mickey Mousing those people around. So we'll talk about the easiest way to do that in this specific section. Just as a general overview, what you have to know before we get started is there's a couple of key questions that are going to determine your general gear needs, right? And what we're going to focus on here is a few of them. So let's just take a broad general overview of the stuff you're going to have to ask yourself, the questions you're going to have to ask. If you don't know the answers to these, the answers you're going to have to get before you put in that gear order. And this gear order, it's an ongoing process, right? It just doesn't happen one time and then you get everything you ask for. No, there's back and forth between you and the production, you and the director, you and your keys that may not have some of the gear that you need. So then you need to, weigh up the pros and cons of outsourcing that gear, how much it's going to cost. This is an ongoing thing, right? It's not just one and done. You're going to be doing this at times up to the morning that you're shooting, up to the afternoon when you're already on the shoot. You're trying to organize gear for later that day or the next day. This is constantly happening. And the more you know about the process and understand all of the elements that are involved in the decision-making process, the more likely it is that you're going to end up with the gear that you need and a result that you are happy with. A couple of key questions that you have to ask yourself, especially at the beginning of this process, is what is the overall feel that you're going for? What's the general feel, right? You should have determined a lot of those needs in the treatment. It'll be written down, whether it's going to be handheld, whether it'll be Steadicam, whether there's a lot of movement, whether it's very stable. Right there, you've already got a huge clue in the type of gear that you're going to be needing and the type of personnel that you're going to be needing. So that's a major one. If you don't have the answer to that, of what the director is trying to go for in terms of camera movement, do they want it a little bit looser? Do they want it more composed? Do they want it always moving? What are the movement elements that are involved in the camera? Not even the, how we're going to do it, just is it moving? How much is it moving? Then comes down to schedule, right? If there's lots of movement but not lots of time, you're probably not going to be going with a techno crane or a dolly, like a traditional dolly setup, like a Chapman or something like that. You may have to go with a gimbal, or you may have to go Steadicam to be a little bit looser, which then affects the flow of the movement. Is it smooth? Is it rough? Is it slightly more gentle? What are the details when it comes to the movement? And then what are the details as they relate to the schedule? Because a pressed schedule will upset a lot of these gear choices and make you change and shift your mind and shift the overall choices that you're going to end up making. The next question you're going to want to ask yourself is, what is the crew situation, right? What is the overall budget of the job? And no one is ever going to tell you, well, this is how much we have, right? That's not the way that the industry works. 99 times out of 100, they will say, this is what you can have, or what do you need? And then you put forth that schedule. But a lot of the times you'll get immediate pushback if you say, I need these 3 keys, and those 3 keys they contact and they say, okay, I need these 4 or 5 people on based on the initial treatment, nothing locked in. Those things can always be very fluid, especially before the tech scout. It's just a general ballpark idea before everybody gets in the same spot, travels around in the same van for a day, discussing how they're going to go about doing it. But for a ballpark, what's the crew situation? The crew will oftentimes be determined by the budget. So if you know that it's a production company that has, produced quality work, you're probably going to have enough crew that you need, right? So then you're going to want to make choices on that. If you have to bring in a techno crane, you're going to have to bring in that whole team. It's not just the same people that you're using for other aspects of gripping. It's going to be a whole new team of people. So keep that in the back of your mind. Keep these questions, again, this ongoing series of questions with the production about what you need to get your job done. Just be constantly going over these at every turn because, like I say, production needs will change, locations will change after they've already been signed off. And perhaps the gear that you ordered isn't going to match up with that location or isn't going to work for the place that has no elevator and it's 4 floors up and you have to get up there and do this smooth camera move. Things change really quickly in the commercial world, so you just have to be aware of that. Other things to think of when it comes to camera specifically, it should be deliverables, what they need delivered. Again, that comes down to technical knowledge that you should be aware of. Aspect ratio, lens format, what they're looking to shoot in, how much data they have. Again, that might come down to personnel as well. If you're not working with a DIT, probably not shooting raw, right? Because that's going to take a very dedicated person to look after that amount of footage, especially if you're shooting more than one camera. If you're shooting more than one camera, again, how are you going to monitor? How's the director going to monitor? What are they after? Just questions lead into other questions, and each one of these little forks in the road just creates a system of questions that need to be answered. So after the technical things like resolution, deliverables, lenses, camera resolution, all those things, then it becomes about unique requirements. So anything that you've seen in the treatment that you're thinking, how am I going to get this move, that's down this stairwell that travels 30 feet that is specifically outlined either by the agency boards or by the director's treatment? You're going to want to get on top of those right away. You're going to want to talk to your keys. You're going to want to get across what you need to get the job done well before you even set foot on the tech recce, because already on the tech recce, if you look like you don't have answers, people are going to come up with answers for you, which you may or may not like. You may be backed into a corner if you don't already have a solution, right? You should never ask a question that you already don't have the answer to. You're looking to the people around you for better answers, but you should certainly be able to answer all of these questions by yourself. So don't get backed into a corner on a tech recce. So come in with answers. B, they're going to lose faith in your ability to lead and deliver the project. That goes for everyone, producer, director, all of your keys. You want those people to have the most confidence in your opinion because you are getting paid for your opinion. The whole reason you're there is for your opinion on making it look good, your opinion on getting the job done, your opinion on the schedule, on the overall aesthetics. This is your job to know these things and to deliver an opinion in a timely manner. So go in with a plan, look for those unique specialty items that you may need in any treatments or in your discussions with the director, and try and get on top of those things as quick as you can. Understanding the gear is a major part of cinematography on the technical side, and then being able to communicate about what gear you need blends into the managerial side of things, blends into that job role that we talked about of also being creative in how you go about communicating with production and communicating with your keys to make sure everyone's on the same page. It all falls under budget. You're getting everything you need to get the job done. You're not overloading a project, because oftentimes this can work against you if you over order and production sees that. You're certainly not going to be anybody's friend. The crew will love you, but the production will certainly remember that. And if you're looking for that repeat business, it's going to be hard to come by if you do that 3 and 4 times. You should be learning on the job, picking up exactly what you needed, exactly what you used on a job if you asked for something, what worked, what didn't work. And this is one of those areas where in the ordering process, you can continually be refining this. You should be getting better at this every single job, because every job is an opportunity to just focus the system, narrow it down to just the bare bones so you can operate at maximum efficiency. The more you get this ordering down, the more streamlined it becomes. Number one, you're going to save a huge chunk of time. If you come up with a system, if you get your database of exactly what you like from the rental houses that you like, or you buy it yourself and you invest in the gear yourself, where you're going to keep it and all that stuff. If you do that and you develop a system, it's going to get less time, you're going to become more efficient, and you're setting yourself up for better results in the end product.